Welcome back, one and all, to our RimWorld farming empire, where everyone is sleeping safe and sound. For now. Unfortunately, everyone's beautiful slumbers would not last for very much longer, though. Unfortunately, while we were all sleeping sound in our beds, there was a bit of commotion outside. It appeared to be coming from Blitz's laboratory. The noise awoke Carol, and she ran outside to investigate. All at once, Blitz flew by her and hit the side of a building. Oh dear God. The Automaton is awake. Blitz and Carol both ran for cover as fast as possible. The machine immediately began raining down hellfire upon them. The two of them hid in doorways and behind walls, getting several lucky shots in on the machine. All at once, the machine turned and began to try and leave the city, almost as if it was being called away. But Reek came up from behind and shot it in the back, right in the fuel cell. With immense damage to the Automaton's fuel cell, the fuel cell became unstable, as did the Automaton, causing it to detonate. Thankfully, though, no one was nearby when it exploded. With the immediate threat dealt with, Reek immediately went to the telegraph to contact the other rebels to let them know what's going on. He was able to get into contact with his father, Shortus, but to Reek's surprise, his father was already aware. He stated that Regime Radio was already reporting on several different attacks from automatons, and just as well, many of their rebel bases were under attack by the Blue Stork tribe. We had no idea exactly what was going on, what was causing the automatons to come to life, but we knew that it was happening and we knew they were extremely dangerous. One of the very first things we decided to do was build a machining table. This way we can actually begin building our very own armor here within the city. And that's exactly what we began commissioning Blitz and Carol to begin doing. Now, the very first order of business with armor is going to be Carol. Carol has always throughout this series been severely under-armored. And that is why I have made the executive decision to add a new mod to the mod list for this series. Thanks to Blitz's cutting-edge rebel research as well as the Ancient Fallout Armory mod, we have a brand new armor to bestow upon Carol. This will keep her much safer than any previous technologies in terms of flak armor. This lightweight, cutting-edge technology could also be circulated through the rebel ranks as well, saving several lives. It is truly a blessing upon Carol as well as the Rebel Alliance in general. Just another instance, of course, though, of Blitz's wonderful research into these technologies. Now, protecting ourselves with armor is a top priority, however, we also need to be able to defend the city as a whole. So I've decided to take note of a comment by our good friend known as Just Call Me Gamer, who says we should build a pillbox within the mountains of the farming empire. So that is exactly what we're going to be doing. We're having Blitz carve out a section of the northeastern mountain for two separate pillboxes within the small hill. Unfortunately, though, while Blitz was mining out this section, we ended up having a raid from the Blue Plain Bandits once again. It would appear those that escaped in the last raid have told their comrades about our low manpower here at the farming empire. And unfortunately for us, the massive holes that we've dug through our mountain have left us very vulnerable to an attack by bandits or basically anyone at this time. Due to our vulnerability, we thought that it may be best to attempt at the very least to build some sort of defenses around these holes in the mountain so that the bandits can't just walk right through. However, when Carol stepped out to do so, she was immediately met with gunfire. We decided that maybe Blitz should try his luck with it as well to assist her, but unfortunately the same was true for him, and then the bandits began their assault on the farming empire. Blitz immediately began returning fire against the bandits and began running through the halls of the hill. The bandits, of course, wasted no time attempting to rush our our defenses and our men. Thankfully, even though the majority of the bandits were trying to come through the pillboxes that we were digging through the mountain, some of them actually went around our walls to try and flank us from the side. Little did they know this is exactly what we were hoping for, as we could not take the bandits on all at once from the front. We could see the fear in the bandits' eyes as they took a swift beating from the few soldiers that we had. They may have outmanned us by quite a bit, but they sure as hell would not outgun us. We killed as many of them as humanly possible before we began making our way through our city looking for any stragglers. We found quite a few of them in the city attempting to set the buildings on fire, and it's a good thing we got there when we did, otherwise baby Spyro may have been lit on fire and killed. One foolish chap by the name of Teresa attempted to take all four of us on at once, but she had a rude awakening when we beat the absolute hell out of her. Just as well, we had killed several of these bandits, but those of which that we did not, we decided to take prisoner and attempt to rehabilitate them, because that's just the type of good, moral colony that we are here at the Farming Empire. Besides, we could really use all the help we could get with these automatons coming to life all of a sudden. Unfortunately, due to wounds sustained in battle, Blitz ended up getting an infection in his right shoulder. Normally, I don't bring up infections or sickness throughout these series unless they actually mean something, and this infection was damn near deadly. As Blitz was recovering from the infection, it came that time of year for us to celebrate Carol's father, Birch, with a lantern ceremony. As we all are aware, of course, the rebels don't exactly respect Birch, with the exception of Happy Oak, as the two of them were friends long ago. However, they are quite accommodating, given that Carol is now the leader of the Farming Empire, and they are her guests, essentially. Not too long after the lantern ceremony had concluded, we decided to check back in with Blitz on his infection. As you can see, it was an extremely close call. We had decided that we would not amputate the arm, as he was very close to developing immunity, but he was cutting it very, very close. Just as well, Blitz is a bit of a roughneck, and he's not exactly too keen on having a limb chopped off. Once he had finally developed immunity though, and he was feeling quite a bit better, he once again began his crucial work on the pillboxes within the northeastern mountain. He had even began building some PM-1910 mounted machine gun turrets, which are admittedly a martial design of a weapon, but they would work perfectly against automatons as well as bandits. But we didn't exactly care about stealing ideas from the Marshal Service, given the fact that there's a possible automaton robotic apocalypse dawning over the planet. We thought it might be best for us all to share these technologies. I mean, it's not as if the Marshal Service is aware that we have the blueprints to their mounted machine gun turrets, though. We would have asked them, but our spies didn't take enough time when stealing the blueprints to sit around and chat with them. A few days had passed by this point, and we were getting closer and closer to recruiting the two bandits that had attacked us, Jen and Lewis. So we decided that they most likely are going to need a comfortable place to sleep once they decide to join the Rebel Alliance. Carol requested that Blitz dig out a section of the mountain next to our crypt for 3 bedrooms for 3 upcoming recruits. Currently, we only have Jen and Lewis, but of course at some point we'll most likely have another person. The bedrooms would take quite a bit of time, as we had to mine out every single piece of stone to build them, and just as well take that stone, refine it, and begin making flooring and smooth the walls, etc, etc, you understand. But once the bedrooms were finally finished, they looked quite okay, I guess. They weren't perfect, but they would keep them happy, as they had high beauty rankings with the rugs and things like that. I just think with future series I would like to try out some new furniture, as we're always using the gloomy furniture mod. Now don't get me wrong, I love it, but I like to try new things. At one point I realized that we've been focusing on armoring Carol as well as working on defenses for the city, but something we haven't been working on that we should is armor and protection for our animals. And our animals very well may become a crucial part of our defense, given the fact that our helicopter does not have any weapons on board. We had Blitz make some large steel animal armor, and I picked a beautiful stallion out for Carol. I decided that we would name the stallion Zeus, a very powerful and fitting name for such a powerful stallion. Zeus is simply the beginning, though, of our plans to begin equipping at least a horse for every soldier that we have with some decent armor. If not decent armor, we could at the very least do would, it's better than nothing. But for now, we're settling with just Zeus, of course, and might I just say that he looks mighty beautiful and very powerful, just as well with Carol on his back in her very brand new armor. But as we were making several improvements to ourselves, our animals, and to our farming empire city as a whole, we ended up getting a telegram from the Rebel Alliance. It was Shortus, and he was contacting us about an ongoing raid at a local rebel city by the Blue Stork tribe. He stated that they were running very low on resources such as herbal medicine, food, as well as fuel. He stated that they had plenty of manpower, they simply didn't have the means to feed them, doctor them, and they didn't have enough fuel for their generators, unfortunately. Carol reassured Shortus that they would be there as soon as humanly possible, and she would immediately begin work on gathering these supplies. Shortus thanked her for her support, as he stated they assumed the city would be under siege for several weeks. As the other rebel soldiers began gathering up herbal medicine and fuel to stuff into the helicopter, Carol began preparing several meals for the soldiers. Just in case their generators were to go out and they had no fuel for campfires and they were unable to cook for themselves, she would go ahead and have this done. Blitz and Nicholas began loading up all of the meals that Carol had created for the rebel soldiers, as well as any last bits of fuel and herbal medicine that they had. Once the two of them were finally finished loading all of this into the helicopter, they then themselves got in the helicopter and prepared for takeoff to head towards the rebel city. As we returned home, we discussed how horrific the battlefield looked, but we tried to reassure ourselves that Shortus had reassured us they had plenty of manpower to handle it. Not long after returning home, Carol successfully recruited Jin. She has now decided to join us here at the Farming Empire and become part of the Rebel Alliance, which is great because Jin here has some wonderful skills, most notable of which is her plant skill, which is going to come in handy in a place called the Farming Empire, obviously. If you ask me, I think she is going to make a more than wonderful addition to our Farming Empire, as well as the Rebel Alliance. She's so good with plants, I think I'm going to call her Plant Mom. But our wonderful Plant Mom's room needs a bit of sprucing up. The rooms are okay, we have all the furniture built, but we're going to have to begin smoothing the walls so that they don't look disgusting and horrible. Just as well, though, we are going to have to continue our crucial work into our defenses, such as spike traps around our pillboxes, our doorways, and other vulnerable points. Not only are we building spike traps, but we're also going to be building plenty of barbed wire around our entrances as well. Luckily, we have a plentiful supply of steel. Now, of course, bandits, the marshal service, soldiers, as well as several other enemies that we have are going to be smart enough to not walk right through barbed wire, so it's not exactly what we're using it for. We're actually going to use it as a deterrent of where we do not want them to walk, and that way we force them to walk through our spike traps. But by this point, the Farming Empire has truly come a long way, especially from what it was back in the Logging Empire days. It was beautiful then, but it is especially beautiful now, especially with all of our new defenses, not just barbed wire and whatnot, but I'm talking about the peel boxes, as well as our defense towers and things like that. And I absolutely love it, and I hope you guys do too. And my only hope is that we can continue to preserve it and ourselves.